love, right? It's the reason for our best songs, our greatest stories, our highest highs, and yeah, our lowest lows. But what if I told you that under all that poetry and drama, there's some seriously fascinating science at work? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and see what's really going on.
And it absolutely does. It feels like this incredible, uncontrollable force that just happens to us. But the truth is, we can actually look at the machinery behind the magic, the biology, the chemistry, the psychology that makes it all possible.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll kick things off with the big picture evolutionary why. Then we'll dive right into the chemicals fizzing away in your brain. After that, we'll get into why we're drawn to certain people, how our past plays a huge role, and finally, we'll look at culture and even the science of a broken heart. All right, first things first, why do we even have this thing called love? Well, it turns out that from a purely biological standpoint, love is less about candlelit dinners and way more about a clever, deeply human survival mechanism. And really, it all boils down to one simple fact. Human babies are completely helpless for a really, really long time. Think about it. A foal can walk within hours, but our kids need years and years of nonstop care. For our ancient ancestors, a single parent trying to do all that protecting and providing, that would have been an almost impossible task. And this is where love steps in. It's like nature's superglue. It creates this powerful bond that makes two people want to stick together, cooperate, share food and shelter, and, most importantly, both stay invested in making sure their kid survives. So, in a way, love is just evolution's brilliant plan to give the next generation a fighting chance. Okay, so we know the evolutionary why, but how does our body actually create that superglue? Well, the answer is in a seriously potent cocktail of brain chemicals that literally changes the way we think and feel. So scientists usually break this whole experience down into 3 stages, and they tend to overlap. First, there's lust, that initial physical desire. Then comes attraction, that giddy, can't eat, can't sleep, all you can think about is them phase. And finally, you get to attachment, which is that calm, comfortable, long-term connection. Each of these stages is driven by its own unique chemical mix. During that attraction phase, your brain is just flooded with dopamine. This is the exact same chemical that fires up when we're seeking a reward. It's what makes you feel that rush of euphoria, that boundless energy, and that laser focus on your new crush. It is, quite literally, the I need more of you chemical. Now, as you move into that deeper attachment phase, oxytocin becomes the star of the show. People call it the cuddle hormone for a reason. It's released during physical touch, like holding hands or a long hug. Its whole job is to build feelings of trust, calm, and emotional safety, really cementing that long-term bond. And working right alongside oxytocin is another chemical called vasopressin. This one is also crucial for that long-haul attachment. Research has linked it directly to things like monogamous behavior and feeling protective of your partner. It's pretty much the chemical that whispers, yeah, we're a team. But here's where it gets really wild. You'd think a feel-good chemical like serotonin would go up, right? Nope. In that early, obsessive stage of love, your serotonin levels actually drop. And that drop is linked to the same kind of intrusive, can't stop thinking about it behavior that you see in people with OCD. Crazy, huh? So when you put it all together, what you realize is that love is not just some fuzzy feeling. It's a physiological event. Brain scans show it lights up the exact same reward pathways that are triggered by addiction. So when someone says they're addicted to love, they're not really that far off. It literally rewires your brain. Okay, that explains what's happening inside our heads once we've found someone. But what makes us pick out that one person from a crowded room in the first place? This brings us to the very cool science of attraction. I mean, really, is it just random, a cosmic roll of the dice? Or are there hidden forces, biological, psychological, guiding us towards specific people without us even knowing it? Well, science says it is definitely not random. For instance, on a totally unconscious level, we're often drawn to people with immune system genes that are different from our own, something we might actually pick up on through their scent. It's an old evolutionary trick to give our kids a better shot at fighting off diseases. We also subconsciously register things like facial symmetry as a sign of good health. And of course, there are the more obvious ones, like being drawn to people with similar values, or sometimes traits that complement our own. But it's not all biology. Our own personal history, especially from our childhood, plays a massive role in how we love as adults.
This is where we get into the psychology of attachment.
So there are three main styles that are formed early on. People with the secure attachment style generally find it pretty easy to get close to others and build trusting bonds. Anxious types often crave that intimacy but are constantly worried their partner doesn't feel the same. And then you have avoidant types, who tend to value their independence and can feel suffocated by too much emotional closeness. These patterns become our unconscious blueprint for relationships, and honestly, just figuring out your own style can be a total game changer.
All right, for our last section, let's zoom all the way out. Because our experience of love isn't just happening in a vacuum. It's shaped by the culture we live in, the stories we tell, and of course, by the painful but very real science of heartbreak. This whole idea of marrying for passionate, romantic love, it's actually a pretty new invention. For most of human history, marriage was a practical deal. It was about family alliances, property, and survival. But today, our culture bombards us with the idea of finding the one, our soulmate. This puts a ton of pressure on our ancient biological wiring to not just create a bond, but to deliver a perfect fairy tale. And when that bond breaks, that feeling of pain, it's not just in your head, it's real. Brain imaging studies have shown that the emotional anguish of a serious breakup lights up the exact same parts of the brain that fire up when you experience physical pain. Your brain literally doesn't know the difference between a broken heart and a broken arm. And here's why. It's chemical withdrawal. Remember all that dopamine that made you feel so good? When that's suddenly gone, your brain goes into a state of shock. That's what causes all those classic symptoms. You can't eat, you can't sleep, you're anxious, and you can't stop thinking about them. You are genuinely, biologically, withdrawing from the drug of love. So when you put it all together, why do we fall in love? Because it's a perfect storm. Our evolution, our brain chemistry, and our personal psychology are all pushing us in the exact same direction, toward connection with another person. It's one of the most fundamental drives we have. So in the end, love isn't just a simple emotion. It's this complex, ancient, powerful system designed to help us survive, to bond, and to thrive. Yeah, it's messy and it's complicated and it's definitely chemical. But it's also, quite simply, what makes us human.